was a $5 billion company, it was one of the most famous women in the world, kneeling over her bathtub, dyeing her shapewear with tea bags and coffee because no brand on earth made her skin tone. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. Of course, Kim Kardashian built a huge brand. She started with hundreds of millions of followers. And you're right, you can't copy her fame. But here's the thing about fame. It gets you the first purchase. It never gets you the second. Plenty of celebrities have launched brands that flopped within a year. Skims is profitable, past $1 billion in sales, and worth $5 billion because underneath the fame, there's a playbook, and every piece of it is copyable. So today, we're talking about 4 lessons from Skims that apply directly to your short-term rental business, including the one thing Kim did in her very first year that most business owners are too proud to do. Hey friend, if we haven't met yet, I'm Stacey St. John. I co-host short-term rentals for property owners all around the country. I offer full-service property management in select markets, and I literally wrote the book on co-hosting. It's called the Co-Host Code. More importantly, I help women build short-term rental businesses that create freedom instead of overwhelm. And in this video, I'm breaking down what famous founders can teach us as Airbnb hosts, because I believe the fastest way to grow is to steal shamelessly from people who have already figured it out. If you're building a short-term rental business, hit subscribe so you don't miss the rest of this series. Okay, lesson 1. Let's go back to that bathtub. For years, Kim couldn't find shapewear in her skin tone. Most brands sold nude and maybe 1 or 2 extra shades. So before big events, she'd literally dye her own garments with tea bags and coffee. She described the whole thing as coming from a really vulnerable personal place. And that frustration became the entire company. When Skims launched in 2019, it launched with around 10 skin tones in sizes from extra, extra small to 5X, because Kim wasn't guessing what the customer wanted. She was the customer. Here's your version of this, my friend. Every frustrating stay you've ever had as a traveler, the place that sleeps 8 but only sleeps 4 at the dinner table, the bed that photographed so beautifully and slept so terribly, or the fully stocked kitchen with a bunch of dull knives. That's just not an annoyance. That's market research that you have already paid for. The hosts who win aren't the hosts with the fanciest properties. They're the ones who remember exactly what it feels like to be the guest, and they design every detail to solve problems the guests didn't even know they could expect someone to solve. Your best ideas can actually come from your own bad experiences. A few weeks ago, I was a frustrated guest. I booked what looked like the perfect mountain cabin. The photos were stunning. It had soaring views, an indoor pool, a hot tub, beautiful finishes, the kind of place where you walk in and immediately think, this is gonna be amazing. I couldn't wait to unpack and settle in and enjoy my week there. But within the first few minutes, I realized something was off. I opened the bedroom looking for a closet. There wasn't one. There was also no dresser, no luggage rack, not a single hook to even hang a jacket or a towel on, let alone tomorrow's clothes. I checked the next bedroom, same thing. So my suitcase became my dresser. Every morning I dug through wrinkled clothes. Every evening I piled everything back inside. And every day I was reminded that this beautiful luxury cabin had overlooked one of the most basic needs a guest has. It wasn't a huge problem, but it was a constant frustration. And it reminded me of something we talk about all the time in hospitality. Guests rarely remember one big thing. They remember the hundreds of little moments that either make their stay feel effortless or make them think, I can't believe that nobody thought of this. That's the difference between a property that's simply beautiful and one that feels thoughtfully designed. Let me make this real for you. I'll never forget a stay of my own where a seemingly small oversight made an otherwise incredible property feel surprisingly inconvenient. Oh, that's the bathtub moment, just like Kim. Yours is waiting inside your last frustrating trip. Lesson 2. Here's a detail about Skims most people miss. It wasn't just more sizes and more shades. It was the same price for every size. No plus size surcharge like so many brands quietly charge. And they built an adaptive line for customers with limited mobility. The message underneath all of it, nobody is an afterthought. And the market rewarded it because the customers everyone else ignores are underserved. They're loyal and they talk. Now think about your market for a second. Every other listing in your area is chasing the same generic guest. But who's being ignored? Is it the traveler with mobility challenges that can't find a genuinely accessible property? Maybe it's the family with a child on the spectrum who needs a sensory calm space. Maybe it's the guest with severe allergies or the multi-generational group that needs a real bed on the first floor. Serving an ignored guest isn't charity, it's strategy. There's less competition, deeply loyal guests, and reviews that read like love letters. When you design for the person everyone else forgot, you stop competing on price and start competing on, there's nowhere else like this. And let's talk about what that does to your numbers, because this is where it really gets fun. When you're one of 200 generic 3-bedroom listings in your market, the only lever you have to compete on is price. And it only moves down. But when you're the one genuinely accessible property or the place where a family with specific needs can actually relax, you're not in that race anymore. Scarcity sets your rate. Skims charges the same price for a 5X as an extra small and built an adaptive line most brands would call a niche. And it's worth $5 billion. Serving everybody well is not a discount strategy. It never has been. So tell me in the comments, who's the underserved guest in your market? The one nobody is building for. I read every comment and I honestly want to know. Your answers just might inspire somebody else watching to finally serve that guest. Okay, lesson 3, the one I told you about earlier on, the thing that most business owners are too proud to do. Skims wasn't actually called Skims at first. In June 2019, Kim launched the brand under a name called Kimono, a play on her own name. And the backlash was immediate and global. She was accused of appropriating the traditional Japanese garment. Even the mayor of Kyoto weighed in. Now, she could have dug in. Plenty of founders would have. Instead, within about a week, she announced she'd rename the brand. And here's my favorite part. She went to her own followers and asked them for input. A couple months later, the brand relaunched as Skims, with more inclusive marketing than the original launch. The controversy that could have killed the company actually became the correction that strengthened it. Friend, every host gets a kimono moment. Yours arrives as a 3-star review that stings. A guest message pointing out something that you missed. Feedback on the listing photos you spent all weekend on. You get 2 choices, defend or listen. The hosts who write defensive replies to critical reviews lose twice. The original guest and every future guest reading that reply. The host who responds fast, they fix the issue and they say, you were right and here's what I changed. They turn critics into repeat guests. Reviews are free consulting. Data over drama. Take the note, make the fix, and come back stronger. So let me give you the exact 3 steps for your next stinging review. Write these down. Step 1, acknowledge the specific thing without a but. You're right, the mattress in the 2nd bedroom wasn't up to standard. The word but erases everything in front of it. Step 2, name the fix concretely, not we'll look into it. We replaced it this week. Step 3, close for the future reader, because that reply isn't really for the reviewer. It's for the 100 people reading it before they book their next trip. When they see a host who takes feedback like a professional, that critical review starts working for you. Acknowledge fast, fix concretely, and come back more inclusive than before. It works on a $5 billion brand, and it works on a 3-star review of your 2-bedroom condo. Lesson 4, from the outside, Skims looks like it exploded everywhere overnight. Look closer, and it's one of the most disciplined expansions in retail. Shapewear first in 2019, then loungewear in 2020, swim in 2022. And here's the part I love, menswear didn't launch until late 2023. And you know why they did it? Because men already made up more than 10% of their customers before the category existed. The demand showed up in the data first. The product then followed. Then came the Nike partnership, activewear in 2025, footwear in 2026. One category at a time, each one built on proof from the last. Compare that to how hosts grow. One property does okay, so they impulse buy a second, and in a totally different market because it looks so cute on Zillow. That's not expansion. That's gambling with a mortgage. The Skims way translated for us. Master one property until it runs on systems. Watch what your guests are already telling you. The amenity requests, the booking patterns, what your market data says people are searching for and not finding. And when you expand where that demand already exists. Let the data pick your next move, and every new property strengthens the whole business instead of stretching you thinner. So how do you know you're actually ready to expand? 3 signals, and I want all 3 lit up before you sign your next deal. Signal 1, your current property runs without daily heroics from you. If you're still personally putting out fires, a second property doubles the fires, not the freedom. Signal 2, sustained demand. Strong occupancy across seasons, not just one lucky summer. 1 great quarter is weather, 4 is a pattern. Signal 3, the data points somewhere specific. You're seeing demand you can't serve, dates you can't take, group sizes you have to turn away, a market your numbers say is underbuilt. When all 3 of these are true, expansion is just following the evidence. And when they're not, waiting is the strategy. So ignore the fame, copy the playbook. 1, solve the problem you know best because your own frustrations are paid for market research. 2, design for the guest everyone else ignores. That's the strategy. 3, when the market talks, listen fast. Reviews are free consulting. And 4, expand where the data leads, 1 proven step at a time. A bathtub full of tea-stained shapewear became a $5 billion brand, not because of fame, but because every one of those decisions was about the customer. That part, it's completely copyable starting right now. And to actually help you copy it, I turned all 4 of these lessons into a free download, the Solutions Host Playbook. It walks you through each lesson with action steps for your short-term rental business, completely free. The link is in the description below. And if this series is helping you think bigger about your short-term rental business, give this video a like and hit subscribe. Kendra Scott and Barbara Corcoran are already up, and there's more coming. Now, go solve a problem only you can, and I'll see you in the next video.